Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Clay Malcolm here at Advanta IRA. And today my guest expert is going to be Martin Gaspar from CrossTower. So he's going to come on in a little bit. And together, we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency investing, more specifically cryptocurrency investing in tax advantaged accounts, and more specifically still maybe the accounts where you might be able to get your cryptocurrency earnings tax-free. So that's really our theme today. I'm going to start off with a little general information about self-directed IRA investing, how it works, where cryptocurrency fits into that, and how that works. And then Martin's going to come on and talk a little bit about cryptocurrency in general, the marketplace in general, a little bit of specificity about CrossTower and how CrossTower.com interacts with IRA investing. And then we're happy to have Q&A at the end. So please do feel free to type in any questions that you might have in the questions box on your console there. And then we'll get to them at the end. But go ahead and type them in as they come to you. We might answer it during the presentation, but we might not. So please do feel free to type those in as they occur to you. We're happy to answer those at the end. All right. So for my part, again, I'm Clay Malcolm with Advanta IRA. Advanta IRA is a self-directed IRA provider, a national one, and cryptocurrency is one of the asset classes that we service. I am going to give this disclaimer. All the information that we give in the webinar today is for education purposes only. At Advanta, we don't give tax, legal, or investment advice. We don't advocate any particular investment strategy, or investment vendor. We're actually a very neutral part of the IRA investment equation. Our job is really to document the activity of the account so that that account gets to keep its tax advantages even when it is investing in a private asset or an alternative asset. And we'll talk a little bit about what those are in a moment. But the decision making and the motive force, so to speak, come from the IRA holder, you. So you're the one who's going to choose the investments, do the negotiation, decide which vendors you're going to use. All of those strategy decisions are up to you and your team. And we always encourage you to use your team when you're doing due diligence about an investment or us or anything, right? So using your CPA, attorney, financial advisor, family, friends, whoever it is that is your team, you get to use those people when you're doing your self-directed IRA investing. It's one of the great things about this tool is that you, as the account holder, you get to bring your expertise and the expertise of your team to bear on the growth of your tax advantaged account. And at Advanta, as I mentioned before, our job is really to listen to what it is that you want to invest in and to make that process possible from a documentation standpoint so that you get to keep the tax advantages. At Advanta, we're kind of a medium-sized company in the self-directed IRA space. We have assets that we do the administration for about $2 billion. A little over 8,500 active accounts at the moment. We are built as a customer service organization. The company invests in a lot of continuing education for us, the employees, and so our tenure as employees is a pretty long one when it's compared to other companies, especially these days. And the company was actually built in a way that serves customer service, meaning that you as an account holder get a two-person team here, and because we're still medium-sized, you get that those two people are your team. So me as kind of the onboarding and education person, and then a more back office account manager person who helps you with the documentation of the investments and things like that. And you have our contact information, so our direct phones and emails and things like that. So you always know who to go to for information. And for my part, I've also been a self-directed IRA investor for about 10 years. And so I really have an empathy and a connection to how this process works and what it takes to make it go as smoothly as it can and to achieve the financial end result. So please feel free to contact me. My contact information will be up at the end. And anytime you have questions about self-directed IRA investing, and if I can be of service, I certainly will. So when we're talking about self-directed IRAs, remember that self-directed itself is just it's a descriptive term. It's a marketing term, not an account type or a legal distinction. So these account types that you see on your screen, we have all of these as self-directed accounts that can invest in alternatives. So, more common definition of self-directed is that it's an IRA that can actually invest in alternatives, but the account types actually stay the same. So the contribution rules, the distribution rules, and the tax advantages that you know and understand about these different account types stays exactly the same. The thing that's going to change with your self-directed IRA at Advanta is that you're able to take that money in its tax advantaged umbrella, so to speak, and have it invest in alternative assets, something other than publicly traded securities. So that's really what you're achieving when you move some or all of your IRA funds over from a different custodian to Advanta, is that our account types can actually invest in all these alternative assets. And you see the account types that are pretty familiar to you. Traditional and Roth obviously are individual accounts, as is a health savings account. A lot of people are unfamiliar with the fact that a health savings account can invest very similar to the way an IRA can. It's not a flex spending account. It's not use it or lose it. It actually persists through time and can invest and has incredible tax advantages. And it is becoming an account type that is more and more popular in combination with cryptocurrency because of the ability to invest in cryptocurrency at a low dollar threshold. So it's one of those accounts that could really benefit, from an investment, and all those returns can be tax-free. So one of those account types. Roth is obviously the other one, where any money that you invest from the Roth, as long as you end up taking out qualified distributions, all the earnings that those investments made over time will be tax-free. So those are the two account types that are a little bit of the namesake of the title here today, in as much as you can invest those account types in cryptocurrency and have the earnings that you create be tax-free. We do offer employer accounts like SEP and Simple. We do education savings accounts, and certainly we do solo 401ks as well. So if you have your own business, if you're self-employed and you want to do a 401k plan for that, we can handle that. It can also invest in cryptocurrency. And I put former employer plans over there because very common strategy for folks is, those of us who have had, more than one job, sometimes we have an old 401k or other retirement plan at a previous employer that's automatically able to be rolled over without tax and without penalty to a self-directed IRA that can then invest in alternative assets. And so it can be rolled into usually a traditional, but sometimes a Roth, depending upon the 401k plan or retirement plan that you were in. And I'm happy to discuss the details of all of that if you want to go over the strategy for the tax advantage plans that you have. And remember, we talked about the fact that the main goal or the main idea of self-directed IRAs at Advanta is that you combine the tax advantages with the account type with the earnings that you can create from alternative or private investments. Well, do realize that those investment classes, those asset classes are myriad, and we handle almost everything. So it can be residential real estate, commercial real estate. The real estate can be in the form of physical ownership or some sort of syndication or ownership in an LLC. That brings to mind the fact that we also do private equity. So your IRA can invest in private equity, private placements. You can do private lending. It's a very popular asset class as well. Precious metals, so gold, silver, platinum, and palladium are available for your IRA to invest in. And obviously cryptocurrency, which we're going to focus on today. But again, almost anything that you know how to make money at outside of your IRA, you can make money at inside your IRA, as long as you take the time to set it up properly and learn the rules. And when it comes to cryptocurrency, it's been an interesting evolution. So because cryptocurrency hasn't been a popular asset class for a terribly long period of time, but over the last 6, 7, 8 years, IRA custodians and cryptocurrency exchanges have had to talk to each other in depth about who is doing certain things like, know your client and security and things like that. And as a self-directed IRA provider, we obviously have to have custody of the assets. So there are a lot of interesting things that go into a relationship between a cryptocurrency exchange and an IRA custodian. One of the things that's so interesting and cool about cryptocurrency is that it's decentralized, and the person can have access to it in a certain way. It can be anonymous. things like that. So there are features of cryptocurrency that actually make it a little bit difficult for an IRA custodian who is charged with and has to have maintain custody of the assets that are in the IRA while they're in the IRA. And so those relationships have been a little tough to forge. Fortunately, it seems like platforms and exchanges such as CrossTower and the industry in general is starting to become more familiar with IRA investment. And so that's starting to open up an avenue of direct IRA investment into cryptocurrencies. So just understand that has been an evolution. There have certainly been setups with IRA custodians and cryptocurrency exchanges that have been very expensive and very clunky, but that's something that has changed over the last several years, last few years anyway. And so today we're going to be showing an example of how it's become pretty darn easy, so and inexpensive. And so that's really what we're focused on today. And I will mention that at Advanta we offer investment in cryptocurrency for your IRA in a couple of different ways. So this first one is a little bit indirect, and what I mean by that is just that the IRA uses a technique in our industry called checkbook control, which is usually an LLC or some entity that is a subset of your IRA. And because an LLC is a legal and financial entity itself, once the IRA has purchased 100% share of that LLC, and the LLC, typically speaking, will name the IRA holder as the manager. So this is where the term checkbook control comes in, because the IRA holder is also the manager of the LLC. So on one hand, they have a check of IRA money made out to the LLC, and in the other hand, they have the state documents saying that they're the manager of the LLC. So they can go down to a bank account, open a business checking account, and they're literally writing checks on IRA money. And because, again, an LLC is a legal entity, it can go out and establish relationships at cryptocurrency exchanges. It could be one, it could be many. And this is a very, for those folks who want to invest in crypto in a very agile way and to get into the newest thing and be able to have multiple exchanges going and things like that, this is a way to do that. So that's one avenue that we assist our clients in terms of setting it up so that they can invest in cryptocurrency. Remember always that the cryptocurrencies that are available are going to be up to the exchange. And in the case of exchanges, some of them work with IRAs, some of them don't, and some of them work with LLCs and some of them don't. So there is some research that goes into creating the team lineup or the constituent pieces of your investment strategy when it comes to cryptocurrency. Now today we're going to be talking about the direct method, which is obviously a little bit simpler. It's quite inexpensive, and so in this particular case, Advanta has created a working relationship with a cryptocurrency exchange, and today our case study is CrossTower. And basically, it is as simple as it looks here on the screen, which is that the account holder will tell us at Advanta as the custodian, hey, I want you to send X number of dollars to CrossTower or the exchange. It will end up on their platform, but under your name, under your IRA's name more specifically, and you're able to trade it as you see fit. Now the storage is, again, those options are created by the exchange, so that's something to look into. And certainly this is one of those setups where money, cash, can really only go from Advanta, your IRA's cash position, to the exchange and back. And the cryptocurrencies that you own, your IRA owns at the exchange, while you're trading them, those cannot be withdrawn by you personally. They're still under the auspices of the IRA, and so they're still under Advanta's custody. But the setup and the path for distribution later is very simple here, and again, very cost effective. So this is one of the things that we'll be investigating or delving into a little bit more today with Martin. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time about this because Martin's presentation actually does a nice job of talking about some of these features, but there are a lot of things to, as a IRA holder, to investigate when you're looking into a cryptocurrency investment strategy, right? So one of them is going to be some of your preferences. Are you a buy and hold person, or you want to trade a lot? What kind of storage needs do you have? What makes you comfortable in that regard? Speed of purchase and sale, Can you move from one exchange to another? What are the processes? So all of these factors, timing, security, ability to get in and out of a particular cryptocurrency, all these things are things that you will want to look into, and certainly fees, both the IRA fees as well as the exchange's fees. So this is just a starter list for your due diligence when it comes to cryptocurrency investing. Happy to talk more about how this affects your investment as it relates to IRAs. But this is an idea of some things to think about when you're crafting your strategy. And then, last part today for me at least, and then I'm going to turn it over to Martin, who's going to be taking the rest of the presentation over, is to talk a little bit about how the setup gets started. So it is actually quite easy. So the typical one is somebody will open up an IRA with us, whether it's a traditional or Roth, health savings accounts, any of those account types that we talked about. They'll get some money into that account, and usually that's via transfer from another IRA or rollover from an old 401k or other retirement plan, and or a contribution, right? Because the accounts with us are the same as they are at a bank or brokerage house, so you can make contributions if you're eligible. Once that account is open and has some cash in it, then you're looking for the investments that you want to get into. And when you find that, you talk to us about, okay, well, I would like to invest X number of dollars in this particular asset. And you have an account manager with us that'll help you with the paperwork, and we will help to create that documentation so that, again, the investment and the returns that you might be possibly creating will be protected with the tax advantages of the account type. So it's really pretty easy. You can be started within a week or in a week, and most of the time it takes a week or two, in some cases a little bit longer. But the process is not very difficult, and it doesn't take very long. And so, we're happy to be a resource for how do you investigate that, how do you look into what kind of assets you can get into, how long does it take, all those details I'm happy to discuss with you at length. So please do jot down my contact information at the end of the presentation. Now, for the moment, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Martin Gaspar of CrossTower. And Martin's going to be able to talk to us a little bit about, again, the asset class in general, but also some of the specifics of CrossTower. Again, this is one of the direct relationships that Advanta has in terms of a cryptocurrency exchange. So it is available for investment, that pairing. And Martin, hey, thanks a lot for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I got a preview of the content yesterday. I'm really delighted to hear about it and to get to hear it again. So go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Clay. Great to be here. I'm real excited to talk to you guys about, giving a crypto overview, telling you more about CrossTower, what differentiates us as an exchange. And then, I'll give a brief demo just to show everyone how easy and simple it is to invest in crypto on our platform. So just a bit of background around myself. I'm a research analyst at CrossTower. And prior to CrossTower, I was a fixed income research analyst at Wells Fargo. As far as crypto, I've been involved for several years, going back to 2012. So really know a lot about the market. I've seen it evolve, and yeah, it's just very, very exciting to be in the space. So let's talk now a bit about CrossTower. We are a cryptocurrency exchange with capital markets capabilities. We were founded in 2019 by financial services industry veterans. Our co-founder and CEO, Kapil Rathi, was formerly at Cboe & Bats, where he managed and launched several options exchanges. And our other co-founder and president, Kristen Boggiano, is a legal and structured products expert with a track record of building structured products and hedge funds, and was involved in Guggenheim's quant fund that had 13 billion AUM. So really, we offer three core products: exchange, financing, and asset management. On the exchange side, we have three exchanges in the US, Bermuda, and India, and we launched in India last September. So we serve a mix of both institutional and retail clients. And what's very exciting, we are launching an NFT marketplace soon. So this is, one part of crypto that has seen, it's relatively new and is getting a lot of attention. So we're very excited to be getting into the NFT space. On the financing side, we work with Bitcoin miners and institutional crypto investors. And then on the asset management side, we help manage money and put on trades for our clients. So let's talk about, what really differentiates CrossTower. It's our Wall Street grade infrastructure. So CrossTower features uptime of over 99% with built-in redundancy and a dedicated around-the-clock support team. Our matching engine is built to handle very high throughput with low execution latency. And we also feature advanced order type like scaled and post-only orders. We're also proud of our tight bid-ask spreads, deep order books, and high quality trade execution. Let's talk a bit about security, which is always a huge consideration for any crypto investors. So we follow best practices to ensure all the crypto on our platform is safe and secure. So the majority of our assets are held in an offline air-gapped cold storage system. Only a small portion of these are held in an online wallet or hot wallet, and this is really just to facilitate deposits and withdrawals. A cold wallet uses a multi-signature digital signature scheme to eliminate single points of failure and really just make sure our process is robust and defend ourselves against any compromise of an individual private key. So our security is top notch, so we're very proud of that. Also want to discuss our ranking from Crypto Compare, and they basically provide this exchange benchmark report biannually, and their most recent report that they put out in August last year, they ranked us in the top 4 worldwide, and we were only one of 6 exchanges around the world that received the highest AA grade. So it's something we're very proud of, and I think it really speaks to our processes and our market quality. And the factors they evaluated us on were legal and regulatory, our data provisioning, security, our team, market quality, our compliance, asset quality, and a penalty for any negative events. So we're really excited with their progress so far. So let's talk the crypto market now. I think it's very important that all investors are considerate of just how volatile crypto can be. It's common to see swings of 10% or more on a single day for many cryptocurrencies. And I think, just a few weeks ago, right, we had this January volatility. We saw Bitcoin fall 20% or more on certain platforms. So there's inherent risk in that, right? It's some investors are going into it with a very long-term approach. Then there's also some day traders who really enjoy these swings. But I think it's all investors should be prepared to endure this volatility if they're investing in crypto. And crypto has tended to be pretty cyclical. There's always these periods of exuberance where there's some new application or investor optimism about the potential of blockchain technology, and this leads to a lot of new investors and interest in the space. And then during these building periods where there's no real new developments, then prices tend to stagnate. And so the last bear market we had was in 2018 and 2019. We saw a drawdown of 90% or more for many cryptocurrencies. So there can be extreme pain for some investors, who are new to the space. So why is it so volatile? For one, it's a 24/7 market. So there could be periods such as the weekends where there's less liquidity, or just because traders aren't sitting at their desk all the time. Another reason is that we're evaluating a new technology in real time, right? So investors are marking to market this technology, so there's a huge lack of consensus on valuation. And I think crypto is really unique in that it trades now to macro events or crypto specific events. There's just a whole host of news that really can affect investor perception of these assets. So really the bottom line is any investor should be sure to do their own research before investing in crypto. Now let's discuss where the market is headed. One clear trend is that it's becoming more mainstream. Crypto.com, they published a report recently that pegged the amount of global crypto users to be around 300 million at the end of 2021. So we're still in relatively early innings, and there's some estimates that we'll see over 1 billion crypto users in the next couple of years. But really, we have yet to see real adoption in sort of payments and more kind of applications and services integrating crypto. So there's a lot of potential still out there. So 2020 was really the year of institutional adoption for Bitcoin. I think sort of the macro landscape led a lot of asset managers and hedge funds to really reevaluate the prospects of Bitcoin, right? There's still a lot of attraction to its fixed supply, means it's a store of value. A lot of investors now see it as comparable or even better than gold. And then now with the high inflation we're seeing, there's a group of investors that likes to pitch Bitcoin as an inflation hedge, due to its fixed supply. And then in 2021, we kind of saw attention shift away from Bitcoin to other aspects of blockchain technology, and these are really the applications that are built on top of them. And so Ethereum is probably the best known smart contract platform, where it lets anyone launch their applications on it. In 2021, there were a lot more other chains that came to fruition. These smart contract blockchains, also called layer ones, really captivated investors throughout the year, such as Solana, Avalanche, and Terra. So now we're seeing multiple blockchain ecosystems develop. And what are the applications and crypto assets that are on these blockchains? A lot of them involve decentralized finance. So there's autonomous borrowing and lending or swapping assets via smart contract. So that saw a lot of investor interest. And then sort of in the back half of the year, we had this craze in NFTs, right? Non-fungible tokens, which were, it was a real innovation that people started picking up on is, how do you attribute scarcity to otherwise, common digital items? And really that's what NFTs unlock, in that you can capture these properties in these tokens. And part of that is the metaverse, right? You need, blockchain technology and these NFTs to build out these unique items or unique properties in this virtual world. And so really in Q4 of last year, we saw all of these tokens springing up that, either promise to build a virtual world or some virtual game or offer services in them. So that's a real evolving space. And the last couple of months, we've just seen a flurry of activity from traditional corporations. You have like McDonald's and Pantera filing, trademarks to launch like virtual restaurants or virtual goods. You also saw like Nike and Adidas, right? They filed, trademarks or patents to offer virtual, virtual clothing or virtual sneakers. So really interesting development there. And then you have like Microsoft and Meta, who are also trying to build out the metaverse. So it's still unclear on how crypto will shape up, whether it's going to be a winner-take-all scenario for a couple coins, or if there's going to be multiple blockchains and multiple applications that are very similar to each other. So having said that, let's talk about why crypto could be a compelling choice for your retirement accounts. I think the key advantage of crypto, right, is because it's a nascent asset class. There's very strong potential for outsized gains. And so for very long-term investors, that are looking at this, I think it could present a strong opportunity, right? As a lot of the potential applications on it are yet to be developed. If you think of what we saw with tech companies and sort of Web 2, a lot of like the social media and some of the other developments like Uber and Lyft, right? These companies didn't really take off until after 2010, years and years after, we had the internet and sort of the internet bubble. So really, crypto is a compelling choice for some investors to get in early before mass adoption. So it's a very exciting space. Having said that, now would like to transition to a demo. Really wanted to show everyone just how simple it is to use the CrossTower platform, and give you an overview of it. So right now I'm logged in here, really just to explain the layout. Up top, it'll show the value of some, your USD value and whatever coins you're recently trading. And on the left here, it's kind of the trade, which will bring you to what we're seeing now, and then account that will break down the wallet balance of each token you're holding, and then reports for any tax forms and whatnot. So, basically we have this nice chart here. We're, pulling this tooling from TradingView, and on the right-hand side is all our markets, by the pair. So we have Bitcoin, ETH pairs, USDC pairs, and US dollar pairs. Scrolling down a bit, we'll have the order platform. So here, you can select your trading pair up here. In this case, we've selected the ETH USD pair. And we'll have an option for what type of orders we want to put in, and then any active or filtered canceled and trades are going to show up in this panel. So right now, let's put in a market order for $50 worth of ETH. You'll notice here there's a little buffer. Our platform puts in a buffer for market orders just in case there's slippage in times of market volatility. So right now, it looks like we're gonna buy like $44 worth at the market. Looks like ETH is trading at almost 3,000. So right now we're gonna do that. We're gonna click buy. So here it says the market order was placed. We can verify that here, filled and canceled. So right now, it looks like it just filled right there. And so now our ETH balance is updated there, and we can go into account to really just verify this, get a quick summary of our account holdings. So it'll load there. So here it'll tell us our leftover USD amount. Looks like we have some Bitcoin from before, and here we just purchased 0.015 ETH. And yeah, so this will just show really any balance you have there. And we'll go back to the main platform as this loads here. All right, now we're back here, and really, so to do the reverse transaction, if we're trying to sell this ETH, we can do it in the same manner. So in this case, you put your balance there, and we could convert it back into USD. So yeah, I think it's really simple and a seamless way to invest and trade in crypto. I'll pass it back to Clay now, and I guess we can get into any Q&A.
Okay. Thanks, Martin. I appreciate that. Let me get my screen back up. If we can do that. And let's see. Yep, I think we got it there. Okay, and where's my webcam? All right. So thanks for preparing that information. I really appreciate that. And one of the things that I get lots of questions about is the marketplace itself. So generally speaking, and I know that you experience this too as you talk to people about cryptocurrency. There's all kinds of varying levels of expertise, experience level, and things like that. So I appreciate you giving us a nice overview. And let's go straight to the questions from the audience. So, and again, anybody who has questions, please do type them into your questions box in the console. We're happy to talk about those and answer them. And you certainly see our contact information on the screen as well. So please do feel free to reach out to us if you have questions after the fact. I'm happy to talk to you about the entire strategy or a particular question. Okay. So first question is, can I loan money from my IRA to an investor that will be purchasing cryptocurrency with the money and will be giving a promissory note? The answer to that is yes. And that doesn't fall exactly. It's one of the interesting things about saying what an asset class is. So I would still say that that's probably considered to be in the cryptocurrency asset class, but it is actually a promissory note. And one of the things that's a little bit unnerving in some ways is that the IRS lets us, our IRAs, make loans on a number of different ways. So it can be secured by collateral or not. We get to choose the interest rate. So you can actually originate a note such as you're talking about from your IRA. The IRA cash will be dispersed to make the loan, and then the principal and interest payments will come right back into your IRA. Next question is, if I'm over 75 and a half, can I roll an existing IRA to Advanta? Yes, absolutely. So any IRA that you already have, even if you are taking required minimum distributions, you absolutely can roll some or part or all of that IRA over to Advanta and access any of the asset classes that we handle. Next question, I believe, is for you, Martin. Who holds the private keys? So I think this is a security question.
Yeah, so it's whoever's behind the cold storage, which we do utilize custodians for that. So that is more of an operations question, but it's yeah, a mixture of the exchange and the custodians.
Well, and it does, and so I'll say also for our part, we're not going to hold the private keys for our IRA cryptocurrency investors at the moment. So if you have security questions, that's a good one to it's part of the due diligence that you would do on any exchange. It's a good thing to look into, but do understand that in this particular scenario, and it's not to say that it's universal or anything like that, the security will be a function of what's going on at CrossTower. So that's a great question. And what are the trading fees is the next one. And I'll do the IRA fees after. So if you don't mind talking about your trading fees.
Sure. Yeah, so our trading fees are 0% for the maker and 0.05% or 5 basis points for taker.
Okay. And so for those of you who are thinking about calculating the fees and ROIs and things like that, so that would be the activity that your IRA money is incurring on the platform. And for our part, the investment itself is a relatively simple one. So it would be $50 to open the account. That's obviously a one-time only thing. We charge a transaction fee for moving the money over to CrossTower, so that's $95. And then if we do that by wire, then we do have outgoing wire fees. And then the annual fee, which would be for our ongoing bookkeeping and annual reporting to the IRS. If you're under $30,000, your annual fee would start at $195. If you're over $30,000, you would certainly choose our flat, which is $295 per asset per year. And to be clear about this, your account at CrossTower is one asset. Even if you own 4 or 5 different cryptocurrencies on the platform, that would still be considered one asset for us. So one transaction fee, sending the bulk amount of money over, and also one asset on our books. So an account at CrossTower. Can I keep my crypto on my own hardware wallet? Well, that's a great question. And in this particular case, in the scenario that we're talking about here with CrossTower, the answer would be no. And that's more of a custodian thing than it probably is a CrossTower thing. Because IRA assets have to be under the custody of the custodian, you wouldn't be able to have your own wallet because you would have unilateral control over what's going on there. Now, that said, if you choose the LLC method that I talked about earlier and your account at CrossTower is via an LLC or something like that, that's a different matter. And because you're the manager of the LLC, there's slightly different capability there. How does one place a value on a particular cryptocurrency? That's a great question. Martin, you want to field that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's no definite answer, but always try to look for like fundamentals, right? You can look at the amount of users on the platform, the amount of transactions on it, what sort of value is being transferred. For DeFi protocols, it's pretty interesting because you can apply some like similar valuation methodologies as like stocks, because a lot of these protocols charge fees, right? So if you're looking at like a decentralized exchange or like lending protocol, you can actually annualize the amount of revenue they're earning and potentially paying out to users. So yeah, you can do like a price to sales or price to earnings. And I'd say for newer token projects, it's definitely a bit different, right? Because they may not have as much traction yet, or really it's they're promising something in the future. So really that's going to be up to the investor to determine how much potential they want to place on each coin.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. it's hard to gauge and get enough information to make a a judgment on that. So I appreciate you weighing in on that. Can I invest as an individual investor? So does CrossTower take individual investors, Martin?
Yeah,
That are
absolutely.
not IRA investors?
Yep.
Okay, great. And just while we're at that, so how would they do that? Because I'll talk a little bit about how the IRA gets set up, but how does an individual get set up at CrossTower?
Yeah, so an individual can just go on our website, have like a start trading button up there, and it'll give a prompt to register for an account. And we also do have a list of the states we service, right, and the ones we have licenses for. We're not in every state yet, but working on it. So definitely check that out first before trying to make an account.
Okay, and there's a couple of fee questions for CrossTower here. So is there an initial setup fee or for an individual rather than an IRA?
No, there's no setup fee.
Okay, so you guys are all on the fees from the trading?
Yes, correct.
And would you repeat those? We had that question written in a couple of times, so can you repeat that again?
Yes. So through the Advanta IRA, the trading fees are 0% maker fees and then 0.05% taker fees. So.
Okay. And is that the same for individual investors or no?
Actually, I don't know for sure.
Okay. So it's a good thing to look into, but no setup fee. Okay. And I'll just weigh in on that. So as I mentioned before, it's been an evolution of how custodians and cryptocurrency exchanges have kind of been able to meet in the middle. And CrossTower had a very kind of innovative approach in a way that's a really easy one for an IRA investor. And basically what it is Advanta has a more overarching account. And so each IRA holder would have essentially what is a sub account of the main one. And so in this particular case, and this is not the case with all exchanges, the setup of your IRA's account at CrossTower would be through Advanta. So you would contact your account manager and say, hey, I'd like to look into this type of investing, get an account set up, and we actually can facilitate that. There's still paperwork, as there always is, because we're documenting everything that we do. But CrossTower has really done a thoughtful job of giving us a way to do it without a lot of resistance. So it's an easy setup. How is crypto investing similar and different than other monetary exchanges? Do you want to weigh in on that, Martin?
Yeah, I think it's just it's different, right, from other asset classes, and it's a really global 24/7 market. And so you're always on the lookout for global news, global events. And I think right on weekend trading, right, if when the US markets are closed, right, then you have Asia opening, which is like Sunday evening here in the US. There's always these periods of potential volatility. So I think that's really the key difference to look out for.
Well, and I'll say that as an asset class, it has some different factors in terms of its going up or going down and things like that. But I will say, and this is more the IRA world, is that from a structural standpoint and an investor standpoint for us, it's actually quite similar. So we set up an account at an exchange or a platform somewhere that the IRA holder wants to where they want to interact or have their money interact with a particular asset class. Generally speaking, at that point, we have the account holder push all the buttons, so to speak. In this case, it is literally pushing buttons. So you make the trades, all that kind of stuff. So what we create is the ability for IRA money to be on that platform in the name of the IRA, and for the IRA holder to be trading and making transactions. So whether it's cryptocurrency or some other type of exchange or platform, it does kind of look the same to us, if that's part of your question. So what is the difference between CrossTower and Coinbase?
Yeah, kind of like I said before, it's really the infrastructure and markets we serve. yeah, I think that it's interesting. We're both in the U.S. and globally, and we're really expanding in India. So it really shows, the breadth of our offerings, and then also, right, our infrastructure, I think is just, key, because, we've seen so many instances where, other exchanges have, experienced outages in terms of market volatility, while on our platform, things are running smoothly and all the orders are getting through. So I think that really makes us stand out.
And the next question says, did CrossTower invest in Bitcoin mining?
We're not active in Bitcoin mining ourselves, but we do help facilitate lending to Bitcoin miners.
Gotcha. And then the next question is kind of a corollary. Is it possible to perform crypto mining in your IRA? And I'll take that from an IRS rule standpoint. One of the rules that the IRS has is that you're not supposed to provide services. The IRA holder and disqualified persons are not supposed to provide services for their IRA. And so if the IRS could substantiate that you were an active participant in terms of being the miner or the mining operation, they would likely judge that to be providing services, and that means that it would be prohibited. But as we've talked about in terms of loans and equity and things like that, there are ways to invest in Bitcoin mining or other things that are not do not require your active participation. And so my answer to the question of is it possible to do Bitcoin mining in your IRA is maybe, depending upon the setup. But a lot of it has to do with a distillation of the rules in the Internal Revenue Code about the IRA holder's participation in the assets that the IRA holds. So I'm happy to talk to you more about that at any point. Oh, this is great too. And vocabulary is so important, right? So what is meant by maker and taker when you're talking about the fees, Martin?
Yeah, so maker and taker is just about who's providing the liquidity, right? On a maker, you're providing liquidity, which means best way to think about it is like a limit and market orders. If you post a limit order, you're making liquidity, and that you're saying I offer to buy or sell at this price. So that goes to the order book. And then when you think about a taker, right, it's taking this liquidity off the order book. So a market order where you're saying you're going to buy it or sell at whatever the price is, that takes liquidity from the order book.
Got it. Nice. I'm going to paraphrase this question. Yeah. So the questioner is asking about the pairs that you guys offer and the cryptocurrencies that you're in. So how do you choose them, and are there more on the horizon? What does that environment look like for CrossTower?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have a good amount of pairs right now. It's obviously a lot of the top ones, Bitcoin, ETH, a lot of the big stable coins. We have like Doge, some DeFi names like Uniswap, Compound. And we're always looking at more coins to add. Basically, we have a very rigorous sort of asset listing process. Our compliance team, has to vet these tokens and projects, and make sure they're compliant, in each jurisdiction we serve. So it's a very rigorous process, but we're always trying to add coins people want to trade, and coins that are popular.
Okay. And it is safe to say, from my own experience, that each exchange has a different slate of coins and pairs that they service. And so, again, I will encourage you as an IRA investor to look into that. And you want your money to be deployed at a place where your investment needs are going to be met. So it's just part of kind of figuring out the strategies with the resources at hand. Are investments FDIC protected through Advanta IRA? So this is a good question. I get this one often in terms of insurance. So the short answer to your question in terms of cryptocurrency is no. And for most investments, the answer is also no. So an IRA holder's cash position with us is FDIC insured. So when you have cash in your Roth IRA or traditional IRA, it's at a bank, it's FDIC insured. And remember that FDIC insurance is really mostly about whether if the bank fails, then the FDIC will step in. So yes, but one of the interesting things about the IRS and IRAs and the investment in private investments is that you can, if it's available, purchase insurance for your IRA's investments. So the easiest one to point out is real estate. Your IRA buys a piece of real estate, you get to choose the level of insurance coverage to protect that asset. So the IRS kind of in its endemically does allow your IRA to purchase insurance to protect the asset. That's part of the strategy decision of having and servicing the asset. So insurance is available in some cases for some asset classes. It's not FDIC insurance. The only time that comes into play, at least in our scenario, is for your cash in your IRA. Can you recommend any resources for learning more about cryptocurrency?
Yeah,
Mark,
absolutely.
what do you think there?
Yeah, on crosstower.com, we have a whole resources section. We have a lot of sort of blog posts explaining market concepts, talking about market developments. I myself published a lot of research reports that go on our website for sort of more deep dives. And also a good way is just Googling up certain like blockchain concepts, maybe Bitcoin or how it works, because really a lot of these concepts they build off what Bitcoin provided to the space, and how blockchain works generally. And so it's really good sometimes just spending a few minutes on YouTube and looking at some tutorial videos there, I found really helpful.
And let me just ask you this question too, and it's a little bit of a corollary. I do think that there's a perception sometimes because of the vocabulary of cryptocurrencies that all of the tokens that you can buy are kind of the same thing. Do you feel like that's really the case?
Yeah, I would disagree, right? Because every token has a unique use case and unique sort of structure. We actually call it tokenomics or token economics on sort of the allocation of the token, what utility the token provides, if any, right? And what are the potential use cases? Because some sort of started out, say like Bitcoin, right? Started out primarily as a payment or currency, right? And then now you have these tokens that are meant to be used, to use an application, maybe a means of payment, just to enable you access to, an application or something else. So there's so many different use cases now, like NFTs spring up, and some concepts are like only the holder of this NFT can get this privilege or has access to these special events. So yeah, all of the use cases are very different, I would say.
Yeah, and I'll echo just chime in, and we're going to wrap it up here because we're starting to come up on an hour, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. If you do have questions, keep type them in. We'll try to get them in here, but we're going to wrap up here in a moment. But I will say that this is an asset class, and we handle all kinds of asset classes, that I feel like it's particularly important and appropriate to be a question asker, if not downright skeptical. And the reason I say that is because I think that it's very easy to think that some of these asset classes are they've been around for a long time, and so everybody should know the vocabulary, or if I'm a new investor coming into this space, I should know this or I should know that. And in this particular case, what I've found, and I've tried to interact with a number of different facets of this asset class, is that the vocabulary changes. There's not always an agreement about any particular word in the vocabulary, and because it's evolving so fast, there are new words and new concepts and new attachments or facets of a particular endeavor that could be represented by a token. And it's so fast that I'm not sure that anybody who doesn't devote most of their time to it would actually be able to keep up with it really well. And I say all this stuff to just encourage you ask the questions that you feel like, even, you know, you might feel like, oh, this is too simple a question for somebody. It's not always, and not only is it not always a simple question, but this is an area that is evolving so quickly that you might pick up some information that you didn't know. So I always encourage people when they're doing their due diligence or considering something to be skeptical and to put on your skeptical hat, and that's an appropriate part of due diligence. But in this asset class, I'm a super huge fan of asking a lot of questions, because it just I'm just blown away by the fact that I could learn, you know, 10 or 12 new things a day just by reading a couple of articles and things like that. So if you're like that as well, you're not alone, I guess is my point. Okay. Okay. Well, it looks like the questions that we have are some people have typed in a couple more questions, but they're kind of part and parcel to things that we've already answered. So I think that we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm going to say thanks again to you, Martin Gaspar of CrossTower, for joining us today and you know, bringing your expertise and your lens on this particular investment strategy. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
Yeah, I think it's yeah, kind of just echo your comments, how it's very important just to, you know, try to learn as much about the crypto space as possible. It's always evolving, you know, kind of now a lot of it is being you know, pitched as like Web3, right? This evolution of the internet, this next wave of technology. So yeah, it's definitely a work in progress to see all these applications on it. But yeah, I just want to say thank you, Clay. It's been great chatting crypto and talking about our platform. So.
Yeah. Well, again, appreciate having you, and I appreciate everybody taking some time out of their day to join us today. I hope this was helpful and, you know, generate some ideas for your overall kind of IRA investment strategy. Please do feel free to reach out to CrossTower or Advanta and ask us questions. Continue the process. We're happy to participate in you kind of learning about what might be good for your account. And thanks a lot for joining us, and hope you have a great and healthy day. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.